You know that person who replays a conversation at 1:17 a.m. like it's game footage? You're staring at the ceiling, whispering what you should have said, zooming in on their eyebrow twitch, their 3-second pause, that weird sure in their voice. You felt it. You cataloged it. You can't let it go. Yeah, that person isn't dramatic or obsessed. They're running emotional quality control. If you're someone who replays conversations at night, welcome. You're about to feel very seen. Because you're part of a group people call overthinkers, too sensitive, stuck in their heads. But science calls you something else entirely. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you'll understand yourself in a way you never have before. Here's the thing nobody talks about. Psychologists call this rumination. It means your mind loops past events in an attempt to solve or understand them. But here's what most people miss. Rumination isn't random. Picture this. You leave a hangout feeling mostly fine. Then hours later, you remember the moment you made that joke and one person didn't laugh. Now you're back there. You're editing your tone, your posture, your timing. Your brain thinks it's protecting you. It's trying to prevent future social pain by studying the footage of the past. That's not weakness. That's pattern detection. But if that's true, then why does it feel so exhausting? But wait, it gets weirder. There's a concept called rejection sensitivity. It's the tendency to anxiously expect and overinterpret signs of rejection. If you have it, you don't just hear words, you hear shifts. Imagine your boss texts, "Let's talk tomorrow." That's it. No emoji, no context. You tell yourself you're calm, but your chest tightens anyway. Now at night, you're replaying your last meeting, the sentence you stumbled on, the email you sent. You're scanning for the threat. Not because you're insecure, because you're socially intelligent. You've learned that small changes in tone can mean big changes in safety. Your brain is fast because it had to be. But here's the next question. When does vigilance turn into self-attack? Here's something that sounds contradictory. The more empathetic you are, the more likely you are to replay conversations. There's a theory called high self-monitoring. It means you constantly adjust your behavior based on how others might perceive you. You walk into a room and immediately feel the temperature, not the air, the mood. You soften your voice with one friend, sharpen your humor with another. You're fluent in social dialects. At night, you review the translations. Did I come off cold, too eager, not grateful enough? Now, before the comments section explodes, I'm not saying you're fake. I'm saying you're adaptive. You learn to read rooms because reading rooms kept you connected. But here's where it gets even more interesting. What happens when you're always the one adjusting? Here's the part almost nobody recognizes. You don't replay conversations because you love drama. You replay them because you crave clarity. Imagine this. You open up about something real. The other person responds with, "Yeah, I get that," but their eyes drift to their phone. That tiny mismatch lives in your head for hours. You're not obsessed, you're unresolved. Your brain hates ambiguity. It wants a clean file, labeled, understood. So ask yourself, do you replay conversations because it fills you up or because not knowing where you stand feels unbearable? That answer changes everything. And now we need to talk about the darker interpretation. Now, some people do this for a darker reason. Sometimes replaying conversations is about control, about rewriting history so you're always right, about feeding resentment instead of seeking clarity. But for most of you, that's not what's happening. Here's how you can tell the difference. When you replay things, you don't feel powerful. You feel tense. You're not trying to win, you're trying to understand. That distinction matters. And here's the painful irony. The more you care about getting it right, the more your brain refuses to let it rest. Now, here's the painful irony. The people who replay conversations the most are often the least confrontational. You don't send the "by the way, that hurt me" text. You process it alone. So instead of clearing the air in 5 minutes, you spend 5 hours analyzing it. Your brain becomes both prosecutor and defense attorney. You argue every side. You think you're avoiding conflict, but you're internalizing it. And that leads us back to the open loop. If you're not dramatic, not weak, not obsessed, then what are you? Psychologists say this is called social threat sensitivity. It's a heightened awareness of cues that might affect belonging or status. You're not broken. You're not pathetic. You're not too much. You're perceptive. You're wired to notice what others miss. You're built for depth over surface, for meaning over noise. And yes, that wiring can trap you in midnight replays, but it also makes you the friend who remembers the small shift in someone's voice, the partner who senses distance before it becomes departure, the coworker who reads the room before the meeting derails. Your mind doesn't replay conversations because you're stuck. It replays them because connection matters to you. And that is not a flaw. That is emotional precision. Tell me, do you replay conversations because you care deeply, or do you think we're all just making excuses for overthinking? And if you want the psychology most people never hear about themselves, the next video will hit you harder than this one.